We can touch on that too.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I have the pleasure today on our Your Life, Your Way show. I'm your host, Kathleen McDermott, and I have the pleasure of having Wendy Ng on with us today. And I'm especially interested in hearing so much about, I've already heard some of your story because you and I have talked already,
Yeah.
but to hear and have you all hear what she has to say because we have very similar mindsets as far as living life on your terms. So we're definitely going to get into that. But
Hmm.
Wendy, you are someone who is passionate about serving Asian Canadian women and helping them overcome overwhelm and self-doubt. And I loved how you worded it so they can live authentically and be able to live confidently expressing themselves.
Hmm.
How did you come to serving your client of Asian Canadian women? What brought you on that path? And I also loved where you said you love to help them tap into their confidence and confident and powerful selves.
Hmm.
And as you're explaining your journey, if you could share in that also, how did you come upon your powerful self?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first, thank you so much for inviting me here for this conversation today, Kathleen. I'm excited about this. So, a little bit about myself is that I am a mom of three little kids. I'm a wife. I'm a dancer, a yoga lover, and an occupational therapist who's now kind of segued also into coaching women. And how I got here is a series of things, but really, I think motherhood really launched me into a time in my life where I recognized that, hey, all the stuff I was doing up until this point was working for me. And then now it's not working for me so well because I discovered that, hey, I am the one that is the leader in this little family crew here. Like I need to step up. Whereas when I was younger, I followed a lot with what other people suggested I should do or followed the rules or the expectations that my parents had for me. Um, I don't know if that's a cultural thing, but certainly there was high expectations and a set of standards and rules that I had to live by. And I did that. I did that very well. So much so that I had heard even some of my parents' friends, family friends, say that, oh, Wendy is just like the greatest daughter. You always know what to expect. She follows everything that you've asked her to do. She's just lovely, which served really well as a child, to my parents, but was not serving me so well into adulthood. And that's what I noticed. So I was at a stage in life where I was a young mom, new into my career, new as a wife. So taking on all these new roles and really trying to find my way. And so I started searching for help, right? So I started listening to podcasts and ended up working with a personal coach myself. And that's when I really discovered um, my voice and what makes me tick and what are the things that are important to me and really helped me start taking on different perspectives other than what I had grown up with through my parents. So really questioning, not in a bad way, but just questioning, well, what is important and valuable to me? Does that align with, the things that I was taught? Or am I headed in a different, do I want to kind of forge my own way? And that's what led me to where I am now, where I feel really passionate about helping other women to really discover that for themselves as well.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Hmm.
May I ask,
Yeah.
when you were noticing you had your children and you were noticing
Hmm.
that the whatever you wanted to release wasn't serving you anymore, did you
Hmm.
find that you were already seeing some things in your children that helped you come to that realization?
I noticed the struggle, right, that I was having as a parent and in parenting, right? I tried to early on, I would just follow along with what my parents suggested. And I actually was parenting the way I was parented.
Mhm.
And so I'll give you an example. Like I put my young kids into timeout and tried like the 1, 2, 3, you know, um, strategy and go into timeout, you're being bad. And I thought that was what I was supposed to do. And at the same time, I felt something horribly wrong inside of me with doing that. And that's where I started questioning, hey, what's going on here? why am I feeling this way? And is this even how I want to be doing things with my kids? Is there another way here? And so that's what started me questioning because I could see how much struggle the kids were having. I was also struggling as a parent. So none of us were having a good time. So I had to figure out if there was something that could be different here and help us forge through this stage of life with more connection and enjoyment as a family.
Nice.
Hmm.
What have you found with your clients? And even in just talking with other women, do you find is a common issue that keeps, or more than one? I know I've myself found more than one, but I'd like to know what you find in your work, what you find more common. The issues as to why women don't live life on their terms, why they don't stop and say,
Ooh.
is what I'm doing, is it right for me? And is it
Hmm.
right for family or whatever I'm doing in life?
Yeah, I've been exploring this a lot personally and then seeing it in the clients that I work with is this expectation that we've grown up with, maybe particularly as women, to fit us like the the roles that we've been given, right? Like you need to be a good daughter, you need to be a good student. Um, this is what is expected of you. And as a child, it's important to be able to cooperate and get along with your parents and teachers and follow their guidance. And I think once we get into adulthood, that struggle comes with forging that new role within ourselves to be the leader. And I think that's the struggle because of having to learn to let go of other people's expectations and learn to trust that we actually know what we need instead of
Our own instincts.
everyone else around us. Hmm.
How do you feel, and we're talking about parents, your
Hmm.
parents, my parents, how do you feel society fits into all this and the
Oh,
expectations? And there's a whole other ballgame.
yeah, yeah. Society. Well, it's interesting, right? Because my parents immigrated here from Hong Kong, so at a younger age. But so they have a certain, set of beliefs around how people should behave, what's expected of them, versus, what's expected in, let's say, Canadian society that I grew up in. So I kind of had both of those two sets of expectations that I was, kind of grappling with as I got older and older. And that certainly has, I notice with my parents, especially with me being the only daughter who has children, I see more of their expectations on me because they're trying to impart their knowledge. And so this is where I see, the society around us, our parents, they're there to function in a way to guide us and support us from their perspective, which has worked for them, or well, whether it worked or not, that's up to them to decide, right? But that's the set of beliefs and practices that they come from, and they're just simply sharing out of caring from a caring place. And it took me a long time to actually get to that perspective. For a long time, I felt like, oh, well, they're just telling me what to do. And I'm not going to do it just because they're telling me because I don't agree with it. But it's taken a while to get to the place where I recognize that they care, they want the best for me, and I need to find a way to take what they're giving me and make it my own.
Does culture itself, specifically the depth of culture, play? I know it plays a role and it plays a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
role, but do you find that that also can, how do I want to word, bring my brain to my mouth? Um, can it cause digging in of heels and remaining in this respected, honored time culture versus today? And does that culture still thrive in exactly the way it did? Does there have to be an adjustment in culture too, or is it, how do you
Yeah,
honor and respect that and navigate that?
yeah. I've noticed this with my parents actually, that, now my oldest one is 12. So we've been doing this
For a
for a
while.
while now. And at first, there was a lot of like, my parents still felt very strongly about what I should be doing, how I should be parenting, giving me like very direct, and I wouldn't even say advice, just they were very directive and would point out things to me. Um, and I would feel a lot of resistance to that. And over time, we've adjusted together. So either they've had some more time to speak to other people in their lives who have grandchildren and are navigating this stage of life together, and recognizing that, what they carried with them from their upbringing, it doesn't quite fit within the society that we're in and the lived experience that I'm having as a parent, and how our children, like their grandchildren, my children, are growing up. It's a different world. And so my parents have also, I see over time, have learned to adjust maybe their expectations or the way they interact with me, so that there's a little bit more of a balancing out of and respect for me as a parent, and me knowing what to do and what is right for my kids versus them being the leader in their family clan.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
But let's look at you individually.
Yeah.
How because before you were a wife, before you were a mom,
Mm-hmm.
you're a woman.
Yeah.
How do you find that your journey yourself, outside of those two roles, beautiful that they are, found your own terms for living life your way? How do you find that has strengthened you, and has it brought you ease, or has it brought you struggle at all? I know it's an interesting path, walking it myself.
Yeah. I think there's um, definitely seasons of struggle,
I love
and
that.
from the struggle, then comes this like increasing self awareness. Increasing self awareness meaning a better understanding of myself, what I need, what helps me, um, what are the supports that I need and can ask for. That's a huge thing for me, is giving
That's
myself the
fantastic.
permission to say I need help, or the permission to recognize that, yeah, I do have needs, and it's okay for me to have those needs, and it's okay to express them as well. I think growing up, I was very much a yes and try to get along with other people. Um, as a middle child, so I was very used to trying to appease the people around me and keep the peace. And so stepping into womanhood really had to practice a new set of skills of listening to myself, uh, instead of responding in a way I think other people wanted me to.
How has the practice been for you? Can you enlighten? Because people will say, and I'm sure you've heard this so many times as I have, is, oh,
Yeah.
it's easier said than done.
Oh,
And I got to
yes.
remind people, it's a practice. This is a lifetime practice, but it does
Yeah,
get easier. It does.
it does. And I I think I had to like let go of the expectation that I could do it and could do it really well. Right? I have to recognize that along the way, something new will happen, and I will feel like I'm thrown back to where I used to be, where I'm struggling and floundering, and like, why couldn't I do that? Why couldn't I say no to that? Or why couldn't I have stood up for myself? And I struggle with that still on and off. But I'm more able to recognize that it is an ongoing process. So, giving myself more compassion and actually practicing a lot more self compassion is what I find I need. And actually, I find I'm sharing that a lot more with clients, those types of practices, because I see that that is a key to helping them move forward.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
You and I also have something in common. We both
Mm-hmm.
love yoga, and we both
Yeah.
serve clients in that magical way. I
Mm-hmm.
call it holding space. I struggle even with saying the word teacher, because I consider myself the blessed to be able to hold the space
Yeah.
to help them find their way. I teach adaptive yoga and also restorative yoga.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I both know that it is a mind body connection.
Yes.
And the body it's more and more talk now is happening around the body being part of this process.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much that has been out there inundating us for years. I mean, there's a bazillion books alone on self-help, and they're
Hmm.
beautiful. And I myself have had some beautiful books, and I've had the opportunity to learn a lot from them.
Yeah.
But the missing piece, whether it be the self-help book or the affirmations, is the body connection. Can you talk
Hmm.
to us a little bit about what you know about that mind-body connection and why the two both have to be involved in this healing journey?
Yeah. Oh, I, yeah, that I find it's very important because we have different areas of our brain. And so this is where I like to dive into science
Yep.
is that,
Okay. I'm just going
you
to
know,
relax because I love this part.
so I like to demonstrate with the hands if people eventually get to see the video, it's great. But if you hold your fist up and then you lay your other hand on top. So your fist is kind of that mid-brain, emotional brain, and the hand on top is our thinking brain or our cortex. Okay, so the midbrain is in control of our emotions and really respond to what's happening around us and inside of us. And the thinking brain is the part, I'd like to refer to it as the captain of the ship. Okay, it is thinking, analyzing, organizing, planning, and making decisions. And those two parts of our brain, are connected when we're in a state of regulation. Our nervous system is feeling steady, it's good, we're within what we can tolerate. Okay, so those two parts of our brain can communicate, they're working well together, so things are good. Then life will happen. Some sort of stress, some situation you find yourself in is outside of what your nervous system can tolerate, meaning it sees it as a threat. It's not a safe situation. So, what happens is then our emotional brain takes over. This is very unconscious, it's not voluntary. It takes over and pop, we're disconnected from our thinking brain. So all the things to do with, oh, change your thinking,
Oh,
um, you
yes.
know, um,
Yes.
try to use some reflection and journaling. That stuff is not going to work when your nervous system is dysregulated. You're in a
Mhm.
situation where your body feels unsafe, your brain is telling you you're unsafe, and all you can focus on is those kind of bodily sensations that are happening because it's just taken over.
Yes.
And so this is where the somatic body practices really come in to help with regulating and helping calm down the nervous system so that then our thinking brain can come back online. And then we can use some of the other strategies to help us in managing. So our thinking, our feeling, and our emotions and behaviors, they're all linked together. But you have
Yeah.
to address all of those because they're moving parts. They're not isolated. So,
And our nervous system, I mean, our stress, when we're stressed, when we're in that
mm-hmm.
overdrive, in that fight or flight,
Yeah.
even if it's just what I call the daily posts that happen as you go out and around your day,
Mm-hmm.
the nervous system suffers, but every organ in your body suffers. I mean, we
Yeah.
forget that we have, yes, we probably tend to remember more that we have a brain and a heart, but we have kidneys, we have gallbladder, we have liver, we have intestines, we have our skin is an organ, and
Mm-hmm.
we're so fast forward at 200 miles an hour, we're not thinking about all these organs going on inside and needing to be cared for.
Yeah.
But they suffer terribly. We suffer terribly. There's what
Mm-hmm.
I think the numbers are between 75 and 90% of people that go to the doctor's office are stress related
Yeah.
reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And focusing on the mind is a beautiful thing, but you also have to remember that for every stress point you've experienced throughout your life,
Mm-hmm.
your body was there too.
Yeah.
And your body
And
remembers it too.
it does. It carries it along. And if you haven't resolved it yet or addressed it, it just kind of keeps being very reactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you work? Do you actually use the yoga with your clients as well when you're serving and
Well,
helping them through their healing?
interestingly enough, I don't use yoga specifically. And previous to, really diving into working with Chinese Canadian women, I actually started off as a movement therapist. I grew up dancing and I love dance, and I found that as a very easy way in teaching people how to get connected to their body. So I've kind of incorporated a little bit of yoga, but I had started off more with dance and exercise. So What I love about yoga, though, is there's like a meditative quality to it. There can be, right? So it's not just a body experience. It is a body experience, and then in that state of calmness, being also able to train your mind to stay in that kind of regulated state.
I love you talking about the movement. There was back,
Hmm.
I'm in South Carolina now, but I used to, well, for 61 years, I lived in upstate New York. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Kripalu. It's in Lenox, Massachusetts. And you can go for yoga certifications, all different types of
Oh,
trainings.
wow. Okay.
It's just such a magical place. And you can go for a day and you can take
Hmm.
classes. The food is amazing. The vegetarian food is, oh my God, it's
Oh.
just to die for. It's to die for. That, if I could eat there every day, I'd surely become a vegetarian. But one of the classes that I used to love to take was the dance.
Oh, did
And
you?
it was strictly music.
Hmm.
The room, big, it's a huge room and just filled with people, and you're just moving your body in your own way. It's not like you're
Hmm.
going to a dance to a nightclub or something, but you know, it's just a magical movement of the body.
Yeah.
And that opened me up to so much of myself the first time
Hmm.
I practiced that. Um, I can't think of another way to describe it. It's hard. Could you describe it better than I am, the movement? Because the reason I want people to
Yeah.
feel this is because we know life isn't a one size fits all.
Yes.
And you explaining about the dance, the movement
Hmm.
gives people another option to say that might fit in my toolbox. I might not
Yeah.
be a jogger, but I might be somebody who can just turn the music on and move my body.
Yeah. Well, and I think I said earlier, about taking what people teach us, right? Whether it's your parents or your teachers, but then making it your own. And that's the thing with movement, right? Yeah, there's a lot of options out there. Some people will gravitate towards yoga. Some people will gravitate towards working out in the gym. That's not me. Some people,
Oh, I do like it. I
you
do
know,
like it.
will gravitate towards dance, and other people will be like, I've got two left feet. I cannot dance. I am fearful of it. It doesn't make sense to me. And that is totally okay too. I think at the core of it is finding a movement that makes sense to you, feels good, because dance and movement is about feeling.
Yeah,
It's about tapping into that feeling and the sensations and being more aware and building that body awareness. That is more of the important aspect of movement, whichever one that you do pick.
and it gives you such an awareness, don't you think, of your body in space?
Yes.
How
Yeah.
often do we think and are aware of how we are in the space? And a perfect example in my mind is
Hmm.
I don't think I've ever gone to the store or the market and walked through an aisle and not had a woman apologize, say, I'm
Oh,
sorry. And my reaction is every time, please stop apologizing. You've done nothing wrong. You have every right to be in the space you're in.
yeah.
We don't honor the space we're in and feel
Yeah.
that we have a right to be in it.
Hmm. I had a similar experience. It's actually, I embarrassed in a way to say it, but it was fairly recently. I took our kids on holidays. We went down to Hawaii for a little while, a little trip, and that was about 2 years ago. And I was walking along, trying to follow my kids and, videoing them, and just another gentleman walked past or kind of in the same direction, and it stopped me, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he said to me, "It's okay. You don't have to apologize. Just go where you need to go." And that really stuck with me, not
Yes,
just in terms of how we use our space, but how we are showing up in the world as an individual. And that just, I come back to that time and time again. I'm like, okay, I don't need to apologize for just being me. I don't need to
exactly.
apologize for the decisions I'm making, because who is it going to impact the most? Me. And yet I'm apologizing to other people for those things. Well, why? So it just gets me thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's huge with me. Just remind women to stop. We, and it comes back to what you're saying in the beginning about not wanting that conflict or not wanting
Oh, yeah.
to have struggles,
Hmm.
interactions with others that would make everybody uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um, it's okay to be uncomfortable. First of all, it's okay to be
Yes.
uncomfortable. healing, growing, expanding is not meant to be a soft, pillowy journey.
Hmm.
It's meant to be uncomfortable. But how do you find confidence is a biggie? And often I hear, well, you have confidence and then you'll have the courage. I'm a believer that you have the courage,
Oh, I
then the
absolutely,
confidence comes.
yes, I
Because
agree
then
with
you get
you.
more courage to try again, and then you get more confidence.
Yes,
So can you talk to us about that?
absolutely. Um, so, for example, I work as an occupational therapist, but I've actually changed jobs and practice areas quite a few times in my life. But the last job before this one, I was working in a very physical, health related area in home care. Um, and I was in that role for at least 7 years. And then I switched into mental health. And for me, that was scary because there isn't a lot of OTs who practice in that area where I currently practice, and it was new, and I wasn't totally sure if I could do it, but I made a choice to try it. And along the way, now I've been practicing there for 3 years, but at the beginning, I was always questioning, okay, what am I supposed to do? Am I doing the right thing? I don't know what I'm doing. And so this would be an internal dialogue with myself. And it took a while for me to build the confidence. And that came with the more clients that I worked with more practice. But it took courage to jump in, first of all, into an uncomfortable situation and then to just my way through it. It took a lot of courage to do that. And as I fumbled through, I gained experience, I gained practice, I gained skills, and then the confidence grew. And it's not to say I don't still question sometimes when, oh, a new client with something else that showed up. I'm like, oh, I've never dealt with that before. Well, that's going to happen in any area of life. We're all going to
Exactly.
experience that.
Good
And
point.
so if I didn't put myself out there to try and work and build the skills, I wouldn't be in the position I am today. And I can look back and just feel so proud of myself that I've come all the way here without at least, without first knowing exactly where I was going or what I was doing. Just
Yeah,
figured it
that's
out.
beautiful. I use the word jazzed when I do
Oh,
something, have the courage to do something I thought I could never do, and I do it. It's like, holy cow.
yeah.
What do you like best? What jazzes you when your clients reach that point of transformation? What do you like to see and hear from them?
Oh, well, it's so amazing to me when they come back and they say like, "Thank you so much for all your support and your help." And it's made such a difference in my life. And I feel like, well, I didn't really do anything here. You did all the hard work. And it's so rewarding to see them integrate the things that I'm sharing with them, and they feel like it's made such a difference. Even though sometimes I feel like, well, I hardly gave you anything. It was like just a little, a thought or an exercise, and to be able to see the impact on someone's life, and they feel like, well, I'm living my life the way I'd like to, and it's so much different than when I started working with you. That's what I
Beautiful,
love to hear.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to offer the listeners today if that would help them feel safe? I mean, you obviously hold
Yeah.
safe space for your clients, and that is such a huge part because we don't feel safe on a day-to-day basis with everything that we're carrying and everything in the world. It's very hard to feel safe being ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What would you offer to someone who's sitting here listening and they're thinking, gosh, I don't know where to begin, or I'm afraid to begin, or I can't do that, for a million reasons why I can't. What would you offer to someone to help ease their mind and have them maybe step up and be uncomfortable and begin to ask for help?
Yeah. Well, the fact that they're listening here is, a huge thing that they're recognizing that, oh, I need something maybe a little bit outside of myself. And that's a great place to start for recognizing. And so I do offer this to women that I have a free guide that helps walk you through some of the similar things I would walk someone through at the beginning. Some reflection, some ways at looking at your life where you are now and how things could be a little bit different. And that's a guide to help you get started on your journey in this transformation. And so you can access that. I think Kathleen, you'll share that
I will.
access to everyone afterwards. So feel free to dive into that to get started. And if you feel called to, and it feels like a good fit, that I am open and love working with women to help walk alongside them in this journey.
Beautiful. Last question,
Mm-hmm.
what does your life, your way mean to you?
Ooh,
Just Wendy.
yeah. For me, it means feeling like I make decisions for me. I put myself first. I consider my relationships and the impact I have on the people around me, and being able to live in a way that I'm going to feel good about the decisions I make and I feel solid about those. That is living life on my terms.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. That just needs a moment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
There's so
thank
much more
you.
we could this area we could talk about for hours and hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I would highly encourage anyone please listening to reach out to Wendy. I will have her information in the show notes. Excuse me. However, her website, if you'd like to go directly to her website, is the Wendy NG, thewendynG.com. And I will have her link tree information in the show notes and her website. But please reach out and talk with her and continue the conversation. I highly recommend you do. As you can see, she's a world of service and knowledge and expertise and beautiful energy and grace and strength and compassion. Wendy, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being with us here on Your Life, Your Way. And I look forward to talking with you again.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.